Therapist confession. I went through multiple therapists myself before I was a therapist. And for years, I was still struggling. I was learning things about myself. I was beginning to understand my childhood and my relationships and my patterns and everything that dysregulated me. But understanding myself wasn't necessarily changing the way I was living. And if you have been in therapy for years, maybe you have even been through multiple therapists, and you're sitting here thinking, why am I still stuck after all of this therapy? I want to talk about why that can happen. Because looking back, I don't think all of those therapists failed me. Sometimes I just wasn't ready. And sometimes I didn't know what I actually needed. And sometimes I wasn't even communicating what wasn't working. And eventually there were things I already understood, but I wasn't ready or able to act on them. And that took me years to understand. The first time I went to therapy, I honestly didn't know what I needed. This was 30 years ago. I just knew I was struggling so bad in life. I was in tremendous pain. I was constantly confused, and I went for a few sessions and then stopped. And looking back, I don't think I stayed long enough to really peel away the layers. I don't think I felt safe enough to do it. And in fact, knowing who I was then, I'm not sure I would have felt safe with any therapist. I just couldn't tolerate the process yet. I couldn't tell my story. Now that I'm a therapist myself, I understand that sometimes the beginning takes time because we are trying to understand the whole person, not just the problem that brought them into the room. That is exactly why I sometimes encourage my own clients to write out their story after their intake. Write it out, what happened, what they remember, the important parts, the important relationships, the things that they have experienced. It can help us get to important pieces faster, but back then I wasn't ready for that myself when I was 22. And I think that matters because sometimes therapy isn't failing. Sometimes you aren't ready yet. Sometimes you don't feel safe enough yet. And sometimes it really is the right help at the wrong time. Years later, I went back, this time for marriage counseling, and I desperately wanted the marriage to change because I believed that if I could fix the relationship, then I would finally feel better. If the marriage got better, then I could relax. If he changed, then I could feel safe. If we fix this, then I could finally be happy. I was living what I now think of as an if-then life. If this changes, then I'll be okay. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was outsourcing my emotional outcome to things I could not control. I am incredibly grateful for that therapist. There were seeds planted there that stayed with me, but I also ended therapy too soon. And I had not rebuilt a strong enough sense of myself yet. So eventually I found myself back in another relationship and later back in marriage counseling yet again. By then, I actually knew a lot more. I had so much more insight. I understood myself better. I understood relationships better. We tried the techniques, we did the Gottman technique, worked on communication, and I kept thinking, if I can just fix this, then I'll finally feel calm. Yet again, outsourcing everything to the external. But eventually I realized that my biggest problem wasn't that I didn't understand what was happening, it was that I kept tolerating things I should have had very little tolerance for. And I kept waiting, second guessing myself, hoping something outside of me would change enough that I wouldn't have to make a very difficult decision. And this was a huge realization for me. I didn't need more information. I needed enough courage and enough sense of self to act on what I already knew. And I think this is one of the places that people can often get stuck in therapy. We can keep looking for another explanation, another insight, another book, another hack, another therapist, and sometimes we already understand quite a bit, but the next part is building enough capacity to actually live differently. After another major life disaster and another divorce, I went back into therapy for myself. But this time, something was very different. The therapist didn't suddenly become magical. I was different. I had started building resilience, and capacity, a stronger internal sense of self. And I was starting to understand that nobody was coming into my life to fix this for me or rescue me. None of my therapists fixed me, but almost every one of them planted seeds. Some seeds grew immediately, some took years, some things I wasn't ready to hear. Some things weren't right for me at all. And a tremendous amount of my healing happened between the sessions. I read, I reflected, I looked honestly at my choices and my patterns. But most importantly, I started proving to myself that I could become the person I said I wanted to be. I kept my word, I say what I mean, I can tolerate discomfort, I could make difficult decisions, I can trust myself. I did the work between the sessions. So if you are still stuck after multiple therapists, here are the things I really want you to know. Number one, this one is important. Your therapist gets a vote. They don't get the final vote. Take what you like and leave the rest. Therapists have training and perspective, but we are also human. A therapist can misunderstand you. An interpretation can be wrong. An approach can work wonderfully for someone else and not work for you. There were things therapists told me that changed my life, and there were things I probably should have left sitting in that room, in that therapy room. You are allowed to say, this fits me, or it doesn't. This helps, or it doesn't. You are an active participant in therapy. Number two is, if therapy feels stuck, say it. Before you leave the therapist, talk to the therapist. If you have been sitting there thinking, I have no idea where this is going, or I feel like I'm renting a friend, say that. You can say, I feel like we keep circling the same thing, or what are we actually working on or towards, or I am not sure if this approach is actually helping me, or can we try something different? Your therapist cannot address a problem in a therapeutic relationship that they don't know exists. And a healthy therapeutic relationship should be able to tolerate that conversation. Therapy is something you participate in jointly together with the therapist. It isn't something that simply happens to you. Number three, there's the message and then there's the moment. And this may be the biggest thing I have learned. There's the message and then the moment. And what does that mean? That means sometimes we hear the right thing from a therapist at the very wrong time and we are not ready. Or sometimes we hear the wrong thing at the wrong time and it's genuinely not helpful or almost hurtful. Sometimes we hear the right thing at the right time, but we still don't want to see it. And sometimes we hear the right thing at the right time and finally we are ready to do something with it and take action. That's when insight starts becoming something actual. So if you have been through 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 therapists and you're asking yourself, why am I still stuck after all of this therapy? I wouldn't automatically assume therapy failed you. And I wouldn't automatically assume you failed therapy. I would simply ask, what helped me from all of these moments? What didn't? What wasn't right for me? What wasn't I ready for yet? What haven't I said out loud? And most importantly, what do I already understand that I might be finally ready to act on? Because therapy helped me understand myself. Therapists challenged me. They gave me language for things that I couldn't explain. They planted seeds. But eventually I had to take what I was learning inside the therapy room and start living differently outside of the therapy room, because insight alone is not the finish line. Eventually, insight has to become action. So I hope this helped. If you need to see another video, I would take a look at why still stuck in survival mode, and I'll post that one above. And thanks so much. Until the next time. Bye.